And how's it going, everyone? Welcome to No Fun Allowed. Today, you are joined by an incredibly special guest. I am joined by an actor, nerd, and a consumer of the fine arts. How's it going, Chad?
Trevor, I'm well, my friend. It's great to be here. And I came up with the term, and you're happy to use it and steal it. I haven't copyrighted it or trademarked it yet, but people ask all the time, well, you're really into sports, but you're also a nerd. And I say, just call me a Jerd, hashtag Jerd. That's the life we live over here on
Absolutely.
this end.
Long time Jerd. Alrighty. Let's see if that catches on. So today we're just going to be talking about, the awesome things that you're getting up to and the nerd, or I guess in this case, the Jerd life. So, kicking things off here, you are an actor and you have appeared in a bunch of movies. So, how in the heck did you become an actor?
Well, before we begin, I just want to give you a shout out, Trevor. I'm a huge fan of your DM guides, and of course, I said I got to reach out to this guy, and we got to nerd out together. So thank you for having me. A funny little story along that end. I did a couple of movies this year where I got to film in the Caribbean of all magical places, but their gym facility was nice but kind of small at this like hotel resort. There was a treadmill. I don't like treadmills and I don't like the slog of running, but I had no choice in terms of getting the blood flowing. So your DM videos on Curse of Strahd got me through many, many, many tedious, boring miles, and I want to thank you for that. It served me very well in that movie to have put those miles in. So, my
I'm
friend,
glad that
thank
I
you.
can alleviate your boredom.
Well, to answer your question, I am an actor. I live in LA. I never moved to LA to be an actor. I was a journalism guy in school, and I came out to LA and started working in public relations, entertainment PR, working with television and film actors, helping to promote their TV shows and their projects and stuff like this. So, being in the industry long enough, I kind of found my way into an acting class, and I kind of dipped my toe in the audition waters, and just kind of over the years, just kind of stuck at it. Just treated it like a fun hobby, And I grew up on The Hobbit. I grew up on comic books. I grew up on Braveheart and rock and roll and football and sports and everything else. So World War II movies. The best the '80s and '90s had to offer in terms of action movies and everything else. So acting was just a really fun hobby at first, and I said, it would be so cool to run around in some kind of a World War II movie and just crawl through the dirt and mud and get paid for it, and not have to take as many risks as the real soldiers do. So,
And those
yeah,
guys
long
get paid
story
less
short,
anyway.
dude, way less. And a lot of occupational hazards in that profession, so it's better to do it for the pretend end. But it just kind of stuck, I was doing PR by day and trying to balance an acting career by night, and I just found that I had so much fun with it, and I just set myself off on a path to one day, leave the office space life forever and just do the acting full time, and here we are.
Yeah, so you transitioned then from, working in the industry to becoming this full-time thing, and it sounds like you're killing it. You're doing a fan freaking tastic job, and you very importantly, you mentioned that it was a hobby, and I think enjoying it is honestly the most important aspect of it, because once a job becomes too jobby, then you don't appreciate it as much, right?
You've nailed it, man, and it's that Joseph Campbell follow your bliss thing, and I just always had fun with it, and there was no pressure. I was not my dream wasn't to move to Hollywood and have a bunch of trophies and trinkets on my mantle, at the end of a career. So just the fun thing was what I got into it for, which took the top off of the pressure. It really just if I got an audition or I didn't get an audition, it didn't matter. I still could go to my day job. I still had a low paying salary and like health insurance and everything else. So, I was able to kind of take my time with it and do it for the right reasons, and that's still why I do it today.
Heck yeah. And I noticed that you transitioned as well from not only being an actor, but you've also put on the producer hat. So, what was that transition like?
Yeah, I really, you get in this game and you play it long enough, and filmmaking is such an absolutely fascinating process. I mean, every single film, television show that's made, I kid you not, it's a miracle. Like the amount of people that have to come together, the amount of circumstances lining up, it's unbelievable. It's an organic thing that just has so many moving parts, and it's such a fascinating process. And as I did more and more movies, I just got kind of really interested about, okay, how do you put something together from A to Z? How that must be such a satisfying journey, even if it's a difficult one. So I've been lucky enough to star in some movies and to kind of say, hey, I'd like to come on, I'd like to help and produce. I'd mostly be there to watch and learn, but if there's a way that I can kind of add value to the production, oftentimes because I have the public relations background, I got a lot of media relationships to help promote and support, films and television shows when they release. So learning that one step at a time, and I've then taken a step further. And we have a bunch of scripts and a bunch of movie and TV ideas that me and my producing partners are getting off the ground and slowly making moves in that direction. So it's a fun new aspect, and as Trevor, you love D&D. So what did you do? You created a brand. You put content out there doing what you love, and that's kind of producing for me as an extension of that acting, to be able to just give myself a starring vehicle and also learn more about filmmaking and be involved in that, amazing A to Z process.
Yeah, and I think you also nailed it there too. Is that the important thing is if you want to do something, you can't just sit around and wait for it to happen. You got to do it. And, it really sucks to take that first step, but I promise you, once you start stepping, you don't want to stop. Unless it's on the treadmill, then you kind of dread it.
Yeah. One slog after another. But you're right, and it's you doing what you do, me doing what I do. It's just like I worked in an office, and it was a good situation for me, and I learned a lot. But I was working for somebody else. So whether you're making great content for YouTube, or whether you learn how to produce your film, or whether you're an actor, I just prefer the entrepreneurial spirit. I like working for myself, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't feel as much like work, no matter how challenging it is, when you're doing it for you. And I just think that that's kind of in my bones, and why I keep plowing forward.
But speaking of that, you've also, not only have you delved into the physical acting and the producer, but you've also been a voice actor. So what was that transition like?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate in my career to do a lot of television work. I always make the joke that CBS, that big four network, CBS, it's just like I've been on a lot of those shows, and I say, yeah, I've been on a lot of shows that your parents like to watch at night before they go to bed. Your NCISs and your Blue Bloods and your whatever else. So TV's been really good to me, CBS in particular. But I do a military action franchise for Sony called Sniper. That's still going on. I play the lead role, kind of an elite sniper who goes around the world, shooting the heads off of bad guys with like the biggest rifle you've ever seen. So those have been really fun and really, really good to me. But what you're talking about is probably Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I got to star in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 for Activision and Infinity Ward. It's turned out to be a huge hit and a lot of fun. I played a character of Alex, Echo 3-1, hence the Alex's Army. Brand merchandise for when I stream, I just couldn't help myself. I just thought this logo was so cool, and I was like, okay, I got to rock this.
If you got a brand, show it off, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, where's your t-shirt, Trevor? Come on, man.
I'm kind of falling behind the ball there, unfortunately.
I can hook you up with a person, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've got a brand coming out. It's going to be no fun allowed booty shorts. And on the back, it's just going to be no on one booty cheek and then fun on the other. So that's what I'm aiming for.
I mean, you got to start somewhere. I mean, most people start with mugs, but I mean, booty shorts.
That's free advertisement when people are walking around.
Yeah, exactly. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare was cool. It was a voiceover role, but it was also full face capture, motion capture, performance capture, and I worked on it for like a year and a half, which was an amazing experience. And I still play Call of Duty online on Twitch with fans and friends and people from the game, Call of Duty universe all the time, which has been an absolute blast. So if COVID was good for one thing, it was good for me learning how to stream and play my video game, and also to play a lot of D&D. because I loved hundreds of hours during the 2021 COVID pandemic playing D&D, which I'm weirdly grateful for.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Is you're this full time gig of acting, producing, voice acting, da da da, this and that. How in the heck do you find time to be a jerd in this case?
It's not an option, man. I got to make the time. I put it on the schedule. I rarely bail on a game. When I play as a player, I take it very seriously. I'm the guy who takes the notes. I'm the guy who, puts that on roll 20 in the notes section to make sure everybody's up to speed. I'll track the gold. I'll track the rations. I'll do what you need me to do. I get so immersed and I just love it so much that I almost don't trust another player to do as good a job as I would, which is hilarious because, in my one campaign that I'm playing in tonight, Rime of the Frost Maiden, I'm kind of a very low intelligence barbarian, but he's also the party like treasurer and secretary, which is very, very, very amusing to me. I don't know if he can actually read or write, but we got the notes.
You don't need to read or write. You just count shiny. One shiny, two shiny.
There you go.
So how long have you been playing D&D then?
I grew up reading the D&D novels. I was a big fantasy nerd growing up. I mentioned Tolkien and The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogy earlier, but I would always go and buy the D&D sets, the games, and the books that were always on clearance at like Walden Books and KB toy stores, like in the malls where I grew up. But I had no one to play with. I lived 8 miles outside of a small town, and the small town had 2,500 people. So at most, Nintendo and RPGs on Nintendo and playing Magic the Gathering with a few friends that I had in high school was as nerdy as I got to get. But I always wanted to play D&D, and it wasn't until I came to LA and really immersed myself in a Lost Mines of Phandelver campaign that was like the first time I finally got to try it on for size for all the right reasons. And now I have so many friends in LA that I play D&D with and all around the world thanks to, Roll20 and Start Playing and everything else too.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear because I know in the past, 4 or 5 years, people have been diving headlong into the hobby, and it's been fantastic because there's more players, there's more content being produced, there's plenty of opportunity, and it's awesome to hear that it's not just limited to no longer nerds anymore. It's an everyday kind of hobby, or every person kind of
Yeah,
hobby.
it's the stuff people used to get shoved in the side of lockers for, but now they're all king of the world. Like D&D is the coolest thing ever. So it's kind of fun to see that reversal of fortunes. Nerds rule. Revenge of the Nerds, literally.
Now, that's a callback right there. I don't know how many young people will get that one.
In years, Trevor. So you'll have to forgive my dad jokes and old timey references.
Dad jokes are a gimme on the on this channel. Don't worry. So yeah, you dived into Lost Mines, and then just immediately you said, "Hey, I'm gonna be a DM all the time now," or did you do kind of vary it up? How do you go about it?
Yeah, I loved playing so much that I started a in-person Lost Mines game that got quickly railroaded as of March of last year, and so we moved that on to Roll20. After I wrapped that up, I did the other the Essentials kit, Dragon of Icefire Peak. Ran a different group through that campaign, and I was playing in games all the while too on the side and everything else. But I said, let me see what this Cursed Strahd thing is really about. And so I dove headlong into that, and I made the mistake of not starting one but two groups at the same time, which has been kind of a poor decision. I love my groups dearly, but it's a lot to manage, as you know, as a person who's dove deep into this and made all those beautiful guides that you have. It's a complex campaign, and it's tough, and it requires a lot of homebrewing and creativity and just preparation because of the sandbox nature of it. So the two groups is pretty rough, just even schedule wise, but also the prep and how the forks in the road differ between the two parties and keeping them straight. So, but it's fun. I love it, when we sit there at game time. And so those are the kind of the games that I'm running now are the Curse of Strahd things and a couple one shots here and there when I have time.
Heck yeah. So you're running the same module twice. Do you ever find yourself trying to like push both groups in the same direction just so you can be like, oh, I'll just read this one thing and it works both times, or
I really, I kind of do and I kind of don't at the same time. I'll drop lots of hints, and if they ignore things and skip over things, as like there's always going to be consequences. But I'm honestly at the point now where what I've done with one group who's a little bit farther ahead, I've kind of mixed it up a little bit. I'm like, oh, what if I had Strahd show up earlier after the end of this, kind of thing, just to see what would happen to that group dynamic. Here, I was emailing you and sharing a story about the absolute nightmare slog that was Vallaki for both groups, and we just got, we had like kind of a penultimate showdown with my second group in Vallaki, where Lady Walker gets killed, her imp dies, Ernst Larnack escapes. I built Ernst Larnack to be this like ridiculous assassin character, and Izek Strozny is fighting the spirit assassin that the cleric unleashed from the magic mirror and the Malakovich, Burgomaster's mansion, and it's absolute ridiculousness all over the place. Festival of the Rising Sun, Rictavio's tiger breaks out of the damn stockyard, and all this chaos. And but the party kind of emerged, and in the aftermath, they killed Lady Walker, and they did ultimately the right thing, choosing the lesser of two evils. And then Strahd comes and just kind of slow claps and decides that he's taken an interest after this spectacle, this drama, and that dinner invitation forthcoming. Also, all the corpses animate into zombies, and they lurch out of town to go to Castle Ravenloft to do his bidding. So the party was just like, what the? So that was a little bit of a wrinkle and a twist that I put in the other campaign that certainly didn't go down that way with my first group doing Vallaki.
yeah, you kind of mentioned it before, but I think the beauty of running two groups to the same module is that the first group essentially play test it for the second group. And you're like, oh, I ran it this way, but what if I ran it the other way? And I think that's the beauty of running the same module multiple times is you get to work out all the kinks, as it were. You get to see what works. You get to see what doesn't work. And
I think when the party surprises you, it's like more rewarding, isn't it? Because you one party went about it this way, like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then another party, is approached with the same challenge or problem or quest, and they go about it a completely different way. And you're like, oh, that's like, I didn't see that coming. It makes you appreciate it so much more because you think you know the answers already.
absolutely. And I think due to the nature of Curse of Strahd, no group runs through the module the same way. So like I've played through it now 3 times, and every single time has been a clown fiesta, but for a number of different reasons.
I don't know what it is, but both groups have avoided the Wizard of Wine's vineyard like the plague, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is. Please go to the vineyard, people. Like everyone's like killing themselves because they're running out of wine. Everyone you run into, whether it's Vistani or the people at Kresk or like the Blue Water Inn in the market, I'm like, it's asking for the wine. Why won't you just go get the wine? It's like a 45-minute walk. Like, come on. So
don't you guys want to get drunk? Come on.
I mean, and that's the thing is like a lot of them built their characters around getting smashed. So it's just kind of like, well. You're gonna have to start, making cabbage wine here soon because y'all are running out.
I just imagine now a Curse of Strahd where everyone's just making prison wine because they refuse to go to the actual vineyard.
The old toilet wine. Well, I guess it'd be outhouse wine or latrine wine. I don't know. It's most appealing than prison wine for sure.
Due to the propensity of online D&D, do you see yourself doing any live streams of any games? Do you see yourself showcasing off your games or joining in on some big-time games? Or
it's funny you say that because I've been having some conversations with a lot of the wonderful D&D players out here in Los Angeles and that I've been connected with. We're going to try to get something going in January. I feel like I've got a buddy who's an excellent DM and has a lot of the technical know-how. We've certainly got, enough friends that would be super down and understand, live streaming, it's a delicate nature. Like I know I stream Call of Duty. But there's this thing you have to be conscious of, because it's live and it's recorded and everything else. So, you kind of got to curate your list of people that understands what that means and what that's like. So, but we're excited and we want to try it. I've been wanting to do it forever because I talk about D&D relentlessly, and people get so curious, and fans are just like, "What is that?" And so many fans have, went out there and tried a game and bought some of the material to just start learning about what it is and watching videos and stuff like that. So I really want to bring them a game and watch them see it unfold live and really get a chance to understand what this is in real time and make friends in the chat rooms and whatever else and just kind of have a laugh and be entertained in a brand new way. So I hope that keeps moving forward. That's a big goal of mine because I just think it'd be wicked fun. So I'll keep you posted, my friend.
Heck yeah. That's awesome to hear because, once again, getting more people into the hobby. When you say D&D, I think the average human being just imagines like, oh, you just play dress up and you roll dice or whatever. I think there's still a lot of people who don't understand what D&D is, and there's really no way to
Right.
describe what D&D is in the span of a few minutes. You kind of just have to. It's just this amalgamous thing that you have to sit there and watch to understand or actually play yourself. So
Yeah.
live streaming is definitely a great way to get more people involved for sure.
And I've watched, in an effort to learn more about it. I've watched some great, Twitch streams. Personally for me, the big three of D&D. It's like I'm a combat guy. Like I love combat. I love the tactical chess. That's my deal. I love the visuals. I love the maps. I love, that grid or hex board where I get to just like really strategize how I'm going to run somebody through. With my Polearm Master Barbarian and stuff like that. So there's no version of a live stream that I would want to do that wouldn't have, maps and to be able to have a viewer immersed in, okay, even if it's a crude 2D top-down version of things, like you understand proximity, you see that character's tangled with that goblin and that ogre is swinging over here at that wizard. And I think that's really fun, to watch that unfold because the theater of the mind stuff is like it's cool. I've played some of those games before, but nothing is as rewarding for me as when you get the chessboard out and really figure out that those battles.
I mean, anybody can say that they beat up the 10 goblins, but when you actually see those minis drop, that's a whole nother thing.
See that? We got to see that roll 20 extra that token, or else it's not real.
Exactly, exactly. So right now you're planning on that stuff. What else are you doing in the video game or just gaming space right now besides the games that you're doing for D&D?
Um, I mostly only stream, Call of Duty, Warzone, which is, fun and incredibly popular around the world. In fact, it's so popular that me streaming 6 to 8 hours a week on a good week still leaves me grossly inadequate and getting absolutely, you know, railed by 11-year-olds all around the world. So that's always a blast. But we do have a laugh about it. So
I mean, you
it's
can't beat the 11-year-olds. They got all the time in the world.
dude, they come out of the womb plugged in and ready for stuff. So I'm an old man. I grew up on NES. I'm used to a directional pad and two buttons. Mm.
Yeah, challenge those kids to Super Mario Bros. To see who can beat Bowser first, and you may have the upper
Right?
hand.
Yeah. I mean that was it. I literally whooped and screamed the first time I beat level 8-4 in Super Mario Brothers, and that was like my parents so begrudgingly got me and my brother a Nintendo that like they got it 3 years after it was released, and they only let us have like the three games that came with the console: Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet of all things. I would have been like, save money on the power pad, give me Super Mario 2 at this rate. But yeah, so I was kind of forced to master Mario, and they would not really buy me any more games since they made such a big concession get me one in general. But but yeah. Anyway, talking about that, I stream Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and Warzone, and all that stuff. It's a blast. It's such a great community, and we have a ton of fun on there. But I'm an RPG guy. Like, I used to play Warcraft on and off for like 15 years. Going back and playing all the enhanced, remastered Baldur's Gate games, like Diablo, revisiting OG Diablo and Diablo 2, and stuff like this. I'm a big retro gamer, and I love all that sort of stuff. Secret of Mana, I'm like playing Final Fantasy 3 again on my the Super Nintendo like mini little classic thing there. So I love gaming. Me and my pals get together here for Magic the Gathering, and we kind of been playing recently the D&D, like Tales from the Forgotten Realms or whatever it's called, subset of the Magic cards, which is like Nerd Worlds collide, and I just thought it's amazing. I just really love that set that they did, and I'm so glad that they brought those worlds together.
And that black red, it's always it's always so strong, Getting all
I'm
those
such a
treasures, cheating out things early.
complete those dungeons.
Yep.
I'm always like, I'm a sucker. Like Paladin is like my favorite D&D character, and that's what I play in Warcraft. And so when it comes to MTG, it's like I'm white and green. I like the big beasties, and I like the knights, and I like the angels. I'm a nerd for that stuff. So sometimes those decks are always getting overpowered by that. You know, nasty, nasty black red combo. It's like, oh, come on, just give me 5 turns to build an army, will you?
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun with the Magic Forgotten Realms set. Cause I find that like when it comes to like importing another game to D&D, it's always like how much flavor do you get to keep? But I felt like the flavor is in every single card, every single one.
Yeah, between the artwork and the way they creatively took like character sheets and stat sheets and turned that into the actual card game mechanics. I was like, that is well done. That's just a that's a slow clap right there. So I thought it was really, really, really cool. So it was a joy to play that, and I think we have plans to do that again this week because the boxes are cheaper now because they've already come out with the next set. So I'm like, oh, I'll scoop up all those discounted Forgotten Realms boxes now.
That's the best part about Magic is you just wait 3 months, and then a new set comes out, and you can just get the old stuff, the air quote old stuff.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so yeah, you're playing a whole bunch of these retro games, and by the way, retro games are an all-time high because every company's always like, oh, we could just do an HD re-release, or we can do the package deal, or whatever. You're playing Magic, you're playing D&D, playing Call of Duty. Any other games that you're getting into, or is that your full play right there?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't have enough time to do those wonderful things, sadly. But I bought and downloaded the D&D like Dark Alliance game. I haven't had a chance to really dive into that, but I look forward to it. I just recently reread that OG Forgotten Realms trilogy. With Bruenor and Wolfgar and Drizzt and Catti. So I just reread those things. So I'm like, oh, this Dark Alliance thing is great. Like you get to choose from one of the four, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try this one on for size. But yeah, man, that's a full play for me. I'm always trying to make more time for D&D and to hop in more games and to get my games, on schedule and on track. And of course, the big vision to do some live streaming, hopefully in 2022 on the D&D front, which will take a lot of extra legwork, but I think it'll be just an absolute blast. So that's it. I'm a nerd. I read D&D blogs. I obviously watch your videos and love those things. I read like manuals and source books for fun. And it's just really, I just got forget his last name, but I just discovered some books. The Monsters Know What They're Doing by Keith.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his last name, but like a 550-page book on how to role play and effectively use monsters in combat. And I read the second one about how was it live to tell the tale about how to be a better player and use combat tactics and stuff like that. Depending on your class and everything. So I'm a nerd, man. I'm all in. And even though I got to the actual table or the virtual tabletop late, D&D is such an integral part of my life now, man. And there's just no looking back, Trevor. There's no going back.
I'm in the same boat. I only just hopped on the D&D train recently, but I know I'm going to be doing this forever now.
I would never guess.
It's fascinating because like you compare it to any other game ever, it's incomparable, And I just love that aspect
There's
of
nothing
it.
like it. There's nothing like it, and no two sessions are alike, and it's incredible for that reason.
Absolutely. Alrighty, so yeah, you got a ton of things going on. So what are you getting up to in the next year? You obviously the D&D streaming thing you're gonna try and get set up there, but you got some fun things cooking up. What do you got?
Yeah, it's been a good year. 2021 was a very bad year for being a working actor, but it was a great year for Twitch streaming and Call of Duty and D&D, like I described. But this year has kind of been the flip flop. I've had a really great year and filmed a bunch of movies, most of which will be coming out in 2022. So I have a movie called Assailant coming out with Casper Van Dien and Jeff Fahey and Poppy Delevingne, a lovely British actress. Redbox bought the exclusive rights to that for the U.S., so that'll be a Redbox release. Um, Date to be determined, but I think there's going to be a lot of movies that pop that I got to play on this year, and we'll find out more about those later. But yeah, it's you're on the hunt. You were just talking about how you're constantly trying to create more videos and keep getting them out there and be consistent with that. Well, it's the same thing as an actor. It's just you can never rest because when this job ends, you're just on the hunt for the next job. So it's like, get back into the audition game, get back into the networking game, see who's got what going on, see how you can pop in there and keep your stuff going. So, it's a grind and it's a hustle, but we do it for ourselves, so we love it, right?
Exactly. Once you stop that grind, you kind of like, it's like working out. You work out and then you're like, oh, I'm sore, and then you stop working out and then you're like, oh, I love being sore. you know.
Yeah.
So
where my gains go.
I mean, yeah, always got to go for the gains. So what do you want to be getting up to in the future? What's the future looking like? What do you want to be doing in the next little while?
I think the pandemic um, enlightened me to anything. I just the thing we were talking on earlier, to build your own brand and to put stuff out there that you know and love, and to give yourself opportunities to work and to be your own boss and that sort of stuff. I really want to keep going in that direction. I love Twitch streaming. I've built a fun little community out there, and right now it's just Call of Duty and stuff like that. But I do want to do live streams over there on Twitch and build that community in a new direction. And it's just so fun to put like merch out there and see people wearing it and sharing it, and things just kind of grow, and people having such a great time together. And I do want to do more of that. I like to have a balance of the acting career and obviously doing the acting and the producing, but keep putting stuff out there. I've got this YouTube channel that's just kind of lived there for 10 years and has a decent amount of subscribers, but I've not really ever put anything on it. So I'm like, I should do something with that. I should put some interviews on there, and I should, put some fun content. I was thinking about putting out just a series of DM videos where I just detailed like what my group did and like how I handled things and, this campaign or whatever else. And just kind of put that out there for people to kind of watch and enjoy and make it as entertaining and comical as I could. So we'll see, man. I'm sure you're like me. You've got lists like this that just keep getting bigger.
Oh,
And
yes.
for everyone you check off, you think of 10 new things to add. So, hopefully in 2022, there's time to work that list more than I was able to this year.
Yeah, I mean that list, it's ever growing. But you know, the good thing is though is that you keep on writing that list, and then you look back, a few days later, and you're like, okay, maybe that's kind of a crap idea, but there's at least one in gold,
Yeah,
and there's something in there that's worthwhile.
right.
Alrighty, yeah, it was a blast talking to you about all this fun jazz, and I certainly can't wait to see what you're getting up to, and I certainly can't wait to see what is coming next for you and for us and for the hobby and for the community and this and that. I can't wait to see what's coming up next because it's constantly going up, and I can't wait to see all that fun stuff. So, is there anything else left you want to say?
No, I just want to thank you for having me. Like I said, keep making the great videos. I love doing it. I wish I could watch all your videos, but sometimes I have aspirations of being a player in some of these campaigns, so I don't want to go and spoil it for myself. So, but one of those days when I finish I'm going to go, and when I want to run those games, I'm going to come and watch all of your videos. So
Don't
keep
feel
it up there.
pressured. Not a single person can watch all my videos. It's impossible.
Impressive amount of knowledge that you put out there for everybody to enjoy, and I appreciate that. So thanks for having me on, and here's to a bigger, better 2022 of being your own boss, and all is well, and as they say in Valaki.
All will be well. Alrighty. That is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.